It's August 28th, and welcome to episode 97 of the Driving Forward podcast. Whether you're joining us live or listening on one of our 18 platforms, including Reefs Across America Radio, where we broadcast every Tuesday evening from 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time, we appreciate your support. I'm going to bring in Robert Bain here. We starting off with two folks here today. So our guest is sitting at a dock and wasn't sure how he was gonna be available for the whole show. So I figured instead of you potentially having to listen to me monologue, we'll bring in some insurance this week instead of the last month. We've had some questions on or some questionable scenarios. So we don't want to hear me pull out like Edgar Allan Poe and start reading The Raven. So good to see you, man. It's been a while since you've been on the show.
Good to see you as well, man. Good to be back. And solid analogy of Edgar Allan Poe being to have all the Baltimore stuff behind me. So that's great.
Bingo. Yeah, bingo. So next week we have on the legendary Todd Waldron. So, and I know he might be listening, so I got to fluff him up. But yeah, absolutely. So we're talking tech, we're talking AI, and we're talking the future of broker carrier relations, as well as a bunch of changes that Truck Stop is making. I get to spend a little bit of time with Todd here and there, so this will be a fun one. He's been on the show a few times in the past, but only for short stints here and there at various shows. So I'm looking forward to sitting down with him for an hour and talk about what he's doing at Truck Stop. He's been in chair now there for a while, so looking forward to that. Got to spend some time with him at the Minnesota Trucking Association annual conference as well, so excited for next week. Tune in next Thursday for that one. Following that, we've got some good stuff coming up because it's coming. I mean, we're not too far from our 100th episode, so we'll be
just wild.
Yeah, I know, 100 episodes. So I look at that, Jolly's into the thousands now. I mean, but of course he's doing one every day, but or virtually every day, but which I can't imagine how you do it. You just show up, you turn on and you start talking. I mean, that's how you do it every day. But doing this every week for 2 years has been a blessing. On the same hand, it's a lot more work than I think I ever thought it was going to be. But we are coming up on 100 episodes. That exact same week is Wayne Transports, one of our favorite customers and longtime friends. So the Seamers, that's their 75th anniversary. So we're going to their 75th
incredible
anniversary party. Alex Mai is going to be in town for it too. So it's going to be a blast. So I'm excited. Our 100th anniversary episode, their 75th anniversary as a company, obviously much bigger deal for them. So list of GLCS events coming up that we'll be attending through the end of the year. If we can put that up real quick. So Clio Connect, I'll be at that September 11th. It's actually 10th, 11th. 10th, I think there's a cocktail hour. If you're a customer of Clio, looking at Clio, whatever the case may be, it's a good connect, a good conference summit that talks about integrations and moving your data. There's some semblance of EDI as well. I think a lot of former Extol customers. I was just talking with some folks from Clio here a little bit ago, but this will be my second Clio Connect supply chain summit just this year. They have, I think, 3 or maybe 4 a year that they put on. So if you're around Chicago or would like to check out Clio, you can look it up at clio.com. Following that, we have a whole crew at McLeod. Bain, I think Bain, myself, and Pete Matta will be at McLeod User Conference this year. So
much forward to
that one. Yeah, you. I don't know. How did that? That's a 1 in a million shot there, and you have your shirt on.
Yeah, having my shirt on is the big thing. Like, I'm still pretty no matter what. Having my shirt on,
right? Yeah. Okay, fair enough. All right. So then, following McLeod. So let's go back to our upcoming list there. Just kind of tap off. We have ATA MCE and BCS, Trimble Insight, and capping off the year. So busy year. Who knows where else we'll end up. So freight movement.
I assume in a bar somewhere.
Well, that's where we cap off every event. So
Correct.
And every evening of every event.
Correct.
So freight movement, the next freight movement event will be September 21st at McLeod. So it'll be opening once again at the Gaylord Rockies. So Sunday, September 21st, 8 to 11 p.m. at the Gaylord Rockies. After that opening session, I think we've got a graphic for that as well, if we can pop it up. We have some golf simulators that we'll have open, and we'll look to wind down the first day of the conference. And that conference has kind of a who's who of the industry to it. So attendance is limited. Be sure you sign up ahead of time and pop the Eventbrite if we can into the comments. So we do have some rules. Only 2 people from a solution provider are going to be able to come, because I think we can only accommodate 100 or 125 people at this particular
I think
event.
it's somewhere in there.
Yeah, so there's going to be some rules at this one that we don't want to necessarily have to go to. And this one, hot off the presses, is we will be at Chattanooga. So Monday, October 20th in Chattanooga. And the V53 Trucker Bar is back, and we are happy to be a part of it. So the freight movement V53 Trucker Bar, we're hitting that one up again. And just to kind of, I didn't get all the videos loaded here before, because it's that hot off the presses. When you get Will Jenkins up there kind of singing.
Man, Natalia just slid that in there.
Yeah. So that was a top-notch event and kind of our signature event last year for the most part. So looking forward to those 2 events through the end of the year. All right, now jumping forward. Oh, we got a few comments. Oh, we got the comments up there. So let's see. So all right, definitely got the comments up there, and then Act 7, you're watching. I don't know who Act 7 is, but appreciate you watching, guy. So we got our host for the day, or our guest for the day. He's a guy who's turned a CB handle into a brand, and one truck hustle into a Mack exclusive fleet. He's a fuel obsessed 10 mile per gallon reality, and he's been raised on the road and forged by failure. So now he's hell bent on rewriting the rules and living proof that you don't need 500 trucks to have big league influence. This man's turned social media into the new CB radio. He's built a reputation that stretches from back roads to boardrooms and made efficiency look downright sexy. He's been featured in the biggest trucking publications, had his Mack anthem showcased at national shows, and still finds the time to climb behind the wheel like he is today, because he loves the grind as much as the glory. He's a driver first leader, a fuel efficiency evangelist, and the poster child for small fleets making a massive impact. Please welcome the Mack loving, fuel sipping, driver empowering disruptor, the owner of Hell Bent Xpress, Jamie Hagen.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Jamie, appreciate you coming on the show today.
That was quite the intro.
Well, I do what I can. So
I
yeah,
need to get you to come to all my shows and announce me coming up.
I get that from a few people. So I get that from a few people, but definitely appreciate you coming on. I do appreciate, what I said there. I've said a whole bunch of times that, you don't necessarily need to have a huge backing of trucks and a huge amount of employees, a large number of employees. You just need to have a thoughtful amount of data and a good impactful speaking manner, and be right. You have to be right too, and be willing to state when you're wrong. So, and you've really done that well. Not be
Yeah.
wrong, but I mean,
Oh,
most of
I
the
was
time
gonna
you're
say,
right.
pretty good at
Well,
apologizing when I'm wrong.
yeah, no, I own that myself as well. Um, I own that myself as well, but I think you've become a poster for Mack trucks and a poster for fuel mileage, and actually a very good representative of small fleet owners out there. So and for that, I appreciate you being a former small fleet owner myself. So I really appreciate you coming on the show, and this Act 7, he's greetings from Morocco. So
All right.
It's a ways away.
so, and he said he's putting a leash on them fuel guzzlers. He says your guy, so he's paying attention to you, Jamie.
All right.
Oh,
So
sweet.
appreciate you watching, Act 7. So, Jamie, let's start off with a couple of questions. So you've been in the game your whole life. Your dad was in trucking. What's one of those days when you were young that you feel stamped this industry into your DNA? I know I can go back and think that, but what when you think back into your memories, what's kind of your first memory when you're like, yeah, I like this industry?
Well, I didn't realize this was going to be like an Oprah moment where I start tearing up.
He's good at that.
No, I have this one scene seared into my mind forever as a child, riding with my dad and my older brother, who's only 11 months, 2 weeks older than me. He didn't even make it a year away, or I guess I'm trailing him. But him and I and my dad would all pile into his old Transtar International without air conditioning, and we'd drive down to Oklahoma with grain, and then we would bring Ditch Witch little excavator deals, like they used to cut ditches, hence the name Ditch Witch.
Yeah.
But we'd bring those back up on a flatbed, so we'd help them tear down the sideboards and roll up the tarp, all that stuff. And I'm 4 years old, maybe 5 years old, and that's seared in my mind forever. Just helping him, getting up on the lifts. They would pull you onto the ramp and then they'd lift you in the air.
Right.
Right. I remember those, and I remember all those kind of things, and I just remember thinking that this was the life. You tool down the road, and I'd have my hand out the window. No air conditioning, so I just windows down, and you just cruise the whole time. And yeah, that's probably where it really came from, getting that ingrained as a really young man. So yeah,
I think a lot of us that have been in the industry for a long time have those kind of first moments. I remember as a kid sitting in. So my dad was a mechanic. He didn't drive truck, but my neighbor drove truck, and then he used to back his truck down our road past my parents' house, and I would watch him every day drive out and back up. And I was I was little, 4 or 5 when that started, maybe even earlier. But my memories were being very little and just watching the big truck, which was a Mack, go back and forth for years and years and years, up and down. So then, I got kind of enamored with trucks, I think, at that point in my life. And then my dad kind of flourished with that a little bit with me. So, but absolutely. So I don't need to hang in your history too far. You've done enough of those, and there's been articles written about you and whatnot. I think you just had one not too long ago with what HDT, I think, did one
Yeah.
that was pretty impressive. So, and I know that one kind of caught you. I think you wrote something on Facebook about that one. So, just kind of in self-reflection. So, you how does that kind of make you feel now that you've not only achieved a stable company, because we've both probably been through that, where you've been on the unstable ownership side, and you've spoken about that, I've spoken about that, but now you've got the stable company, as stable as a trucking company can get, and you've also achieved this level of notoriety. So you feel to me to be a fairly humble guy. So
Yeah, I
I
mean, there
haven't
was
had
a time in my life where, I mean, I guarantee you talk to any of my teachers or friends, you know, from high school or even grade school, for that matter, they would have put me down as a guy who wouldn't have got far, in jail or something, because I was a little on the mischievous side. A lot of energy and no place to channel it. You know, that's what I tell the young guys that come to work here. I remember me being in my 20s and 30s and driving truck and just having all that energy, and you're stuck behind the wheel, so it's like it's got to go somewhere. Now I pour it completely into my occupation. I don't have any hobbies. This is the hobby, right? It's everything.
yeah.
But that's where that self-reflection came from. Was just like, God, you look back at, it was from Ozzy Osbourne passing away, and it was me thinking about being in high school and the No More Tears album coming out, and just being completely obsessed with the album, going everywhere, people being like, wow, you really like that, you play it all the time. And I'm like, yeah, I got the shirt, I'm all about it. And then the guy passes, he's 80 years old, and you think back, I'm like, wow, things have really changed in the 30 years I've been driving, and from high school, I suppose it's 35 years or whatever it's been now. But it's one of those things where you you just look at where you are today, and you're like, yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. Like, I
Yeah.
I was lucky to just drive the truck, much less own a small fleet. And then it's weird, people ask me all the time, like, why do you have all this notoriety? And I said, I really don't know. I really don't. I don't know what's so special about me that makes me different than any other driver, because that's the way I feel. I feel like every other guy out here, just trying to do his job, trying to do his best job, trying to live up to that level of professionalism we all want, you know. So I honestly, I just right place at the right time, and I just feel humbled to be here. You know what I mean? Like, just really, um, would have never guessed it in a million years.
Well, I know a lot of people in the industry appreciate it, and I think that's how it happens. You just start helping people, and you continue helping people, and sometimes that helping people is just talking. So, and people start to
Yeah,
realize that they're not the only ones struggling with these issues, and you might have an answer, and sometimes it's just that one answer, just that one answer. It's that one thing that makes you better, that one person better. It solves that one problem. That's the difference between they're in business tomorrow or not. And that's a big thing. I there's one person that I spoke to a number of years ago, and that was the difference of whether or not I was in business or not. So it was not to somebody else that might have not been revolutionary. To you, it might not have been revolutionary. But the more you do that, the more you put yourself out there, and the more that you're real. I think that's a game changer. So, and you just own yourself. So I think you're that type of person. Well, I don't think I know you are. So I've been watching you for a long time. I know we've only met, I think, now for a little, maybe a year or so. So because it was, I think, Broker Carrier Summit in Fort Worth that we first met. Maybe we met one other time before that, but
yeah. I think we bumped into each other at a math or something like that, and then really we met at the Broker Carrier Summit. Actually
yeah,
got to talk.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So so to run down that road a little further, so you bought your first truck at 21, right?
Yeah.
Or something thereabouts. So yeah.
Yeah. I don't advise that. I don't advise that.
Yeah. So that's an early on age. I started driving when I
Yeah.
was 21. I'm not so sure I would have bought a truck at 21. But so in what would you say is, so then I think you shortly after that had mentioned you upgraded that truck, and that kind of tanked the business. So what would you say, or what advice would you give newer drivers, new owner operators, new company owners on, as they walk through the numbers, what they need to look for?
Number one, not the name on the truck. Don't buy the hype. Don't buy the marketing. I'll be the first to admit when somebody makes a better truck than Mack, I will buy it. As of right now, I don't think anybody does, and that's why I'm a huge fan. And they keep innovating. But I digress. The what killed me was Freightliner back in the '90s was trying to gain market share like crazy, right? So they would finance anybody as long as you came up with 10% down. So I went in and borrowed the 10% down. I double borrowed.
Right.
That was strike number one, right? I go out and get a Freightliner, and then I start buying the hype. I start hearing guys talk about how Kenworth, it's just the world's best. It's just the best. So this Freightliner that was making me money, I was super profitable with it. It was cheap. You know what I mean? There was nothing wrong with the truck, but I wanted a Kenworth, and I bought that truck, and it had nothing but problems. It was just one thing after another, because that's what trucks are. Trucks will have problems. It doesn't matter
Right.
what brand it is. It's going to have, and was the hardest lesson I learned, and I learned it young. Because when you're young, you're foolish, and you want the world by the butt.
We might have lost your audio there, Jamie. Did we get you back?
Yeah, sorry about that. Someone tried to call me at the same time. Yeah, can you hear me?
No problem. I can hear you.
Okay.
We're good.
So that was the situation there. I learned quickly, and that's what I tell people. Like, always look at the numbers. Don't look at the name. Don't look at the hype. Don't look at like even the new Pioneer that Mack's coming out with. Don't love it because it is a Mack or it's cool and new or anything. Look at the numbers that it's throwing up on the board. That's what's going to matter. If it doesn't make sense, then it don't make dollars. Isn't that what it says? Yeah.
Don't make dollars, don't make sense, baby.
Yeah.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
in this industry,
Like
you can flip that either way.
right. But that's my point. It's like people. I don't care what it is. I want to. Trucks are trucks to me. They're a tool to make money, and I'm here to use that tool to the best of my ability. And it's up to me as the operator to hone the craft. You know what I mean? To eke out everything that tool can do. And that's my advice to people: is don't fall into a trap where you think something's better simply because it has the right name. You know what I mean? Like, just stack it up against the reality of, because that'll take you out of business. It did me. In a single truck operator, it's pretty easy to take you out of business. A bad week can take you out, for God's sake. Um, unless you're sitting profitable. But at the age of 23, when I went out of business, I was not profitable. I was just creating a job for myself, is all I was doing, right? Like most guys. Wasn't good with numbers other than fuel economy. I wasn't good with saving money. You know what I mean? At that age, you really like to live it up a little. And freshly married, one kid, struggling wife in college. So we use the checking account as more than the business. So that's what took us down. Because one bad week, and next thing you know, you're borrowing money to just stay afloat, and then that creates a bigger vacuum, right?
Right.
So
Right.
I always tell guys getting into it, I'm like, do the math first, treat it like a business, treat it like it's, else then don't bother. Because you're just going to go out of business as fast as you went in. Yeah, you might squeak out a few years, but sooner or later, something's going to get you. So
Yeah, it's a tough business. It's an expensive business.
it is. It's very
And
expensive.
it's it's a great way to fail. So it's a great way to fail.
Yeah.
And it requires somebody who can follow rules. And the truck rule is a tough one. And guys who jump into it without being owner operators or out not running a trucking company previously and not having some sort of experience being very good at their craft before they start running trucks. I mean, if you're not an owner operator and don't know how to extremely efficiently run that truck, or if you're not a sales guy and don't know how to go get the freight, you have to be good at one of these areas before you start running a trucking company or before you start building up it. You can't just come out of a company driver job where you haven't been responsible for any of these things and say, I'm going to go buy 5 trucks. So, I mean, you can. There's people that have done it. They have some lessons that they're going to learn typically that are going to be kind of painful. So,
yeah. And two, with it really does come down to perfecting the driving. If you're going to start with one, if you're a good business person right out of the gate, then maybe that's different. But that's not how this model tends to work. It always seems to be a guy in his truck, and he sees an opportunity to have 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more, and then it just kind of grows. And that's the hard part is those guys. It's for me, the hardest part was learning the business side of it, because the driving came easy, and it almost became too easy to do. And I think that's what made my striving to get better fuel economy. It was almost like something to do while I was going down the road. Like, it gamified my day, So that's where I tend to tell people that's the hardest part is the business side. From the driver's point of view, it does sound like the business side is easier, but it isn't. That's everyone's like, they just sit in the office all day and they just, crack jokes and eat pizza for lunch. That's not how it works. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so much more to it than that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people treat the driving part like the job and the business part like the hobby.
Yeah, legit.
That definitely can be. I think it honestly depends upon the role. There's a lot of people who treat the driving part like the hobby, to be honest with you. I appreciate your targeting fuel mileage. There's a lot of people who just go, let's drive 80 because we're going to get there faster. We're going to increase our revenue. But I will guarantee you, by shaving 10 cents a mile off of your cost, that you're putting yourself in a different category, and probably still, depending upon your length of haul, you're probably still putting close to the same amount of miles on those trucks as somebody driving 80. Because if you have 1,000-mile length of haul, you're still going to probably put 600 miles, 550 miles on a truck a day anyway. You might get more, but it's unlikely. So if you have a 3,500-mile length of haul, your cost per mile is going to be absolutely stellar, not stellar, horrible, astronomical at driving around at 80, which is, and I'm assuming you're not driving around at 80 getting 9.5 to 10.5 miles per gallon.
No. Well, I learned quickly. What really helped me was a company called Pedal Coach, and they would tie into your ECM, and they would. The guy developed it, ironically enough, for electronic vehicles, because the heavier your foot, electronic vehicles are more torquey, so they're more fun to drive. In other words, you use the pedal a lot, right? So he developed this program that could help you ease up on the throttle. It would kind of show you that, use just enough throttle to get you down the road. But the one thing I really enjoyed about it was it would give you your average rate of speed for the day. And I was sort of shocked. If I drove 70 for the day, I would average 59, 60 miles an hour. If I drove 62, I averaged 58. So on average, I would gain 1 to 2 miles an hour for the day is all. And the whole time you're just swerving in and out of traffic trying to get around people. You're just paying attention to the road and you're just zigzagging. And I'm one of those people that believes the more you change lanes, the more your reality of getting into an accident's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All them changes, you're just
100%.
increasing your risk, right?
Yep.
So I realized like, well, wow, like, so I'm shaving off 8 to maybe 18 minutes in the day by driving 70 miles an hour. Unless of course you're out west, and you're out in South Dakota and you set the cruise at 80 miles an hour and you cross the whole entire state. Now, that's different. But the reality is that's not the normal, right? Like the reality is like we come to Chicago, so by the time we go through Minneapolis, go through cross Wisconsin and all that, like we're zigzagging in and out of traffic all day, a lot of traffic. So that's what I tell guys, like you're not gaining what you think you're gaining, but people don't do the math. That's where I keep coming back to what feels. People want to work off of what they feel and not what the reality is. Like you you could be making a lot of money and it feels like you're making money, but unless you put it down on paper and start putting your expenses down to it and seeing what the reality is, that's completely different, right? Same way with fuel mileage, same way with your average speed. Driving 70 probably feels like you're getting a lot of, getting down the road real quick, and you beat that guy that you've been following for how many, hours to the truck stop by 10 minutes. But honestly, what was the 10, you know what I mean? Like, what did you gain in that 10 minutes? What did you lose, I should say? You know what I mean? Like, what, I don't know. I've tracked myself enough where, I've taken long trips and I set the cruise at a certain speed. And you know what I mean? I just did the math, 30 years behind the wheel or 35 years has been, you totally get the numbers and you look at them and you compare them. And then to me, it just made more sense in the long run, not only the fuel efficiency, and people forget with an emissions truck, the more fuel you use, the more you use the emission system. Like the more you work it,
Right.
well, the least, the more efficient you are, the better off your emission system seems to work. All my trucks, my Anthems here, are all in the 500,000 plus category, and we're just now replacing sensors for the first time. So we've had nothing but luck and success. Our maintenance costs are, they're at 5 cents. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't include tires, by the way. You and I talked about that. It doesn't include tires. That's just the truck. That's the, and in today's world, that's huge. That's, maintenance is crazy expensive.
Yeah, especially with a 500,000 miles. So,
and that's what guys don't look at. They don't look at that, in the long run. All they see is the fuel efficiency. And I'm like, well, that's also directly related to maintenance. So the more fuel efficient you are, the less your maintenance costs. Like, so it's kind of a sliding scale. It's more than one thing.
Yeah, no, well, the easier you are on your truck, the more you're going to get out of it. That's just in general. It's across the board. The less you nail your brakes, the longer life you're going to get out of your brakes. So, that's just simple. So there's a reason why I don't have to swap brakes on. Of course, now he shows up. So
here we go.
Hey, I think it's a good time for us to take a break. So we'll be back in a minute and a half. Queue up questions for Jamie, unless he's got to jump out of the truck. But queue up questions for Jamie. We'll be back in a minute and a half. We'll come back with some news.
Okay.
If your fleet's downtime looks like chaos, you're missing out on GLCS. In the fast-paced world of trucking and logistics, time is everything. Meet GLCS, your expert partner in managed IT services. We integrate seamlessly with your team, bringing seasoned IT professionals with deep transportation and logistics expertise. Imagine your software updates running smoothly, complex issues resolved quickly, and operations humming with efficiency. GLCS has your back. Our support doesn't just fix problems, it prevents them. With our industry connections and proactive approach, we keep your trucks rolling and your brokers working. Think of us as the added resource your company needs to unleash its full potential. Visit glcs.net today and keep your business driving forward. GLCS, where efficiency meets expertise. All right, we are back. Well, Jamie, you got to handle something. It's all good. Or if we want to put you down for a little bit, Jamie, while you're doing, there we go. So just let us know when you got to come back, Jamie. So we'll hit up. So I'm going to share the screen here and go through. Of course, I was hoping to get some feedback on them, but all right, got to share the screen. Let's see. Here we go. So we have GPS trackers from South Dakota State Patrol. So this is in high-speed pursuits. South Dakota is going to be able to like shoot a GPS tracker onto a vehicle that they're in pursuit of. And they'll be able to then disengage the pursuit and be able to follow the vehicle. I think this is amazing. Unless you're the person that they're tracking, and unless you're the bad guy.
We have this technology, like just shoot the thing that then disables the entire electrical system.
I think that's a whole nother level of device, but yeah, we're
it certainly is, and there is an inherent danger with
that. There's certain. I think this is just simple. This is just simple. Mm-hmm. I mean, nobody, you don't have to worry about frying the wrong car, whatever the case might be. You're just tagging a vehicle that you're going to be able to follow at a safe distance. And, you can now follow it with an airplane, with a helicopter, with other vehicles from a distance. I agree with you. I mean, if you can disable a car or whatever vehicle, but I mean, you might be going after a truck. I mean, you're not going to be able to disable a truck by shooting its trailer with a GPS tagger with any sort of thing. You're not going to be able to disable a truck. So in this particular case, you're going to be able to follow whatever you shoot. So I'm not sure what shooting means. So or what?
Yeah, that's where I have like some trepidation with this.
Yeah. I'm not sure what tagging means. So, so I whatever that is, but it sounds interesting. We'll see where that goes. So next one up is US DOT threatens to yank federal funding from 3 states for failure to enforce English proficiency rules for truck drivers. And the 3 states are California, which I spoke about a couple of weeks ago, Washington, and New Mexico. And largely, this is coming down to individual stops, whatnot. And the DOT is stating that they have 30 days to come into compliance with this enforcement, or the DOT may withhold up to 100% of the funding for their safety program. So I'm not sure what that funding looks like, but of course they're referencing back the crash that killed 3 people in Florida. So, I do think that crash in Florida was a horrific event, as stated here too. I don't know if that should be the poster child for any and all bad events everywhere, but that being said, it certainly is a horrible event. Any accident is. It's one of the reasons I don't put accidents typically on the show, but it's certainly not the first event of its kind. As everyone has been posting online, every freeway, highway U-turn of a big truck that they've seen. If you ever are watching Twitter or whatever, I've seen about 40 big trucks do U-turns on freeways in the last week. So it's certainly something that's happened. So
I hate downplaying it because the accident was, to your point, horrific. But this is the flavor of the week right now. It got all over the news. It got all the buzz. It checked a lot of the boxes for certain narratives. And so it's going to get traction for a couple, 3 more weeks.
Yeah. or however long it takes. I saw the thing didn't update. I thought I was sharing my whole screen. I always have difficulty with that one. So anyway, yeah, as always, thanks to CDL Life for a little bit of news. So we appreciate that. But let's check back in with Jamie. I see he's moving around. So how's it going there?
Yeah, well, I'm on the dock, literally counting here at LG pallets. I guess they like the personal touch here where you count them for them and verify that you're getting the right amount and the right product. So
fair enough.
You knew they would ask the minute we got on the topic.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. So whereabouts in the country are you right now?
I'm in Chicago right now.
Okay.
Lockport. Right. So
I know exactly where you are.
Am I getting doxxed right now myself?
No, I know exactly where you are because I've been to that location before.
Oh, okay. So you know the drill.
I do.
Right on. So I think I'm gonna strap them in, and we'll get back to you guys.
Okay, sounds good. We'll put you back down. So then just wave at us or whatever, and we'll bring you back up. So but that'll let you go hands free. So we can. All right, perfect. So yeah. So what's new in your world? Let's wait for Jamie to catch up to us here.
Yeah, man, life is good. Obviously, a lot of changes. We're both well aware of those. But no, things are good. I'm adjusting to that. Work has been amazing. We've got a lot of awesome partnerships that are going live right now. You and I talked about some of that earlier this week. So super excited about that ecosystem, really starting to flesh out and the offering that we can give, our customers at GLCS. I'm super stoked for the stuff we have coming down the pipeline with freight movement from, a media perspective, from a event perspective. There's a lot of really cool things going on with that. I know I'm kind of speaking vague, but I want to make sure that we can build the hype the right way because we've got a lot of awesome stuff that's happening. And I'm super excited to be on Bloomberg here in a couple of weeks. I know we're talking about that next week to get ready for it. And that's, I don't get nervous often when it comes to like appearances, but and it's not that I am, but again, it's a large audience and it's probably the biggest one that I've had ever in my professional career. And so that's really cool. And I'm excited. I'm honored. And to represent GLCS and freight movement and strongest man in logistics and everything else that, I kind of bring to the table. And so yeah, a lot of really awesome stuff and training's going good. Body feels okay after nearly dying in Minnesota. And, we're good.
I haven't really made that video public. So if you want that video, I'll give it to you. So
I mean, I have no problem with it going public. I think it's
not my style.
Yeah, no,
I'll give it to you. You can make it go. So
it's no different than like the video from Manifest. Like I did what I did. Like I don't, I don't hide it. So, but yeah, I'll take the video. I'll do something with it. We've got a couple good buddies with some good videography skills. So I'm sure we can have some fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So on the freight movement front, we did just with, I think you've met Hillary Drake before. So, so Hillary is winding up some local events, and she's going to be doing that underneath the freight movement banner. So that will be our first ambassador program here. I think they're targeting the first event in October. So, that's really what we've been all along looking to grow, which is more local events. And so Hillary and team, there's a whole team behind it. We're actually meeting next week to see what we can do to help them produce more local events, local gatherings, all kind of under the same umbrella, but with their own little twist to it. So that's super exciting for us because it just helps that movement kind of grow and take on its own life with our own little sauce to it. So, help them take it and make it go. So I'm real excited. I know Minnesota has asked for more of it, and I haven't been able to do that. So, but Hillary's going to take that ball and run with it, and I'm super excited to partner with her in any way, shape, or form we can. So
that's awesome. Love that. Love hearing about. I mean, more local events and more opportunities for people to network. That's to that point. You know, I'm going to a networking event next week in downtown Chicago. Super excited for that. Just to be in the mix and kissing hands, shaking babies. Gotta love all that.
Yeah, we got to get Jamie to come on out with one of those Hell Bent trucks. You know, that's speaking of Jamie's trucks. Every time that we're driving around here, or when we were going down to Walcott, even I can't draw fast enough to get the phone up to take a picture. I always like to try to get a picture and be like, "Ha, gotcha," you know, and send him a message. So, but I have to get him over at some point and have him join us. He was at our one at Matt's. Yeah, I mean they're not that far away from us, so
yeah.
But yeah, so Bloomberg's a big thing. I don't think it. I mean, yeah, you can go bigger, but that's kind of tough to beat. So
yeah, it's huge, and doing it in studio, like we're gonna be in Midtown where their building is at, and so very excited. Dakota's gonna be with me, so I'm really excited for that because we're coming off of the Strength of Heroes meet that weekend. So yeah, it's going to be really, really cool to experience like the big studio feel. Like I've got to dress up and I'm like, oh my gosh, does my suit coat even fit me anymore? Because I got to look kind of pretty. So, but yeah, very, very excited for that. And then it's, really kind of winding the year down with the events we already mentioned and starting to get ready for next year with, Manifest and with, for me, for Holy Wars coming, literally be competing on Saturday and then jump on a plane to head to Vegas on Sunday. So,
yeah, it's crazy. We're already planning out stuff for February, and that's the February items. The amount of planning we're putting into February already is wild. So the fact that summer's over just kind of stinks. So,
I mean, yeah, but like, we're not really summer weather people unless you're up by the lake. So
I don't know about you. I'm not a winter weather person, so not anymore. So
nah, man, give me the cold weather all day, baby.
That's you. So definitely not a me thing. So we definitely dropped Jamie now. So who knows? Maybe we'll get him back. Maybe we won't. So
hopefully,
we might have to do an episode where we pull Steve Vest back for half and then Jamie for the other half.
Perfect.
But it is what it is. That's one of the things. So I do respect Jamie. When I had my trucks, I would end up in behind the wheel all the time. So I had quite a few trucks, but I would end up covering loads back and forth to Chicago all the time. If a driver got sick, if I just needed to get that extra load in, whatever I could do to help out, pick up, deliver, run that extra round to Chicago on the weekend, whatever it took, you just kind of do what you got to do. And, especially in that teens of trucks, you're running the company, you got your office in the truck. In a lot of cases, it's nice to have the full staff, but if you lose one driver, at 13 trucks or whatever that is, 7% of your revenue is out the door right there.
Yep.
You can it's almost impossible to be profitable.
Yeah.
So when you have 7% of your top line revenue parked, it's almost impossible for you to be profitable if it's parked permanently. So you need to have that truck running, and it's just not something that you can have. So I get it. You got to keep it running, and you can't have 10% of your fleet parked. You can't have 3% of your fleet. You don't even have 3%. You don't have that math. So so you got to hump it, and you got to. It's a breed. It's that cowboy mentality. You got to be out there.
I remember just going from 6 to 50 trucks. Like that was the lift for me was incredible. But I obviously you've gone a much higher number. But to your point, like man, if a truck's sitting, we felt it that week.
When I started, I had 6 trucks. I bought 6 trucks. That was what I first, my idea was start with 6 and go as fast as possible to 50. And that was to get to get into the economy of scale where, you wouldn't have to be in those scenarios and you could get market saturation and then only have 2 or 3 lanes. And, that worked fairly well. But then to get to 100 as fast as possible. And so that was my plan. But, I had different levers that could be pulled versus most people. So,
Yeah, I very much was in the same boat.
yeah. So, I mean, when you can go to large shippers and sell to them, you have different abilities than other people. So, but that being said, there's other people who wouldn't understand how to run that. So what goes up also can come down just as fast as I experienced. So you can outgrow your cash. So a company that's 100 trucks is not always that stable. So
that's a good point you bring up about outgrowing your cash. I think with ties to the Flexport and BlackRock deal that was announced yesterday.
The which one with BlackRock?
So BlackRock and Flexport announced a joint venture. For Flexport Capital for the tariffs and, basically giving them the ability to hold the bag longer for people as tariffs do what they do right now. Super interesting to observe that and to see them getting in front of it where it's going to be potentially very impactful for a lot of their customers. Like, hey, we've got the resources that we're not going to be, chipping away like maybe some other competitors did or have or are going to. So, but to your point, they're thinking very much ahead of how to not outgrow their money.
Right. I saw that. I didn't read. I've been buried this week, but I didn't read. I have like 10 different things I need to read up on here this week. So there's been a lot of things going on. So,
yeah.
A lot of things going on. So
social media has been very interesting here this last 10 days or so.
So Eric Kraus, hey Eric, appreciate you watching. Brings up considering Jamie's run with Mack, or Jamie runs with Mack. I'm curious if he's been able to influence this type of hyper mileage on other OEMs, or is it specific to Mack? How much of his equipment versus driver behavior? So I kind of know that answer. He is 100% Mack and has been since he started Hell Bent. So Jamie started with Viessmann as an owner operator, and he ran a number of trucks with Viessmann, and then a few years ago broke off and started running his own freight. I think he still has a truck or two on with Viessmann, just because he has that great relationship, and Viessmann is a customer of ours as well. But he's experiencing this pretty much across the board with Mack. And I think it's a combination of both the equipment and the driver coaching. I don't think you can I think it's a large amount of driver coaching because some of it's always spec. We see this at a variety of fleets. And I mean, you can watch some of the owner ops that are out there that are posting 10 plus miles per gallon. Some of them even higher. I've seen some of them posting in the 11, 12 range, and they're running, I think, Kenworth in that scenario. But I think you largely have to look at how they're spec'd, all the doodads they have on their vehicle. And then these are I almost call them hobbyists, because it is a game to them. Jamie had mentioned, gamifying fuel mileage. And when you get down to it, if you can operate 550 miles, I'll do some fast math. If you can operate 550 miles per gallon or 550 miles a day, and you're burning 10 miles per gallon at $3.50 that's 35 cents a mile operating versus 7, that's 50 cents a mile. So your 15 cents a mile difference per day. That's a difference of $82.50 a day. So, that's huge. So, I mean, that's huge considering you're operating 5 days a week, 7 days a week in some cases. But I mean, multiply that times 5 times 52, and you're at $21,000 per truck
Yeah.
per year. So,
I mean, that's 200 days of an extra $82. Like, we'd all take that.
yeah, absolutely. So, and that's at that couple mile per gallon difference. So,
I think the thing I always heard was you can't spec your way to 10 miles per gallon. Like, the spec is important, but it is, and I think Jamie can speak to that, the next time he's on. And there are other folks that'll spec out of Peterbilt, to Kenworth, Volvo, that'll get good mileage. Certainly the bang for the buck will be different. Because you look at, again, those PACCAR or look at a Freightliner or anything like that, different price points on all those. And so that's an important piece. But also, the majority of this is going to be driver behavior, because the way I drive and the way my mom drives are very different, and we get very different fuel economies on our very similar vehicles.
Absolutely. I mean, well, and it rolls in, as Jamie had mentioned, it rolls into maintenance as well, and what your just the total application of maintenance. So, it's not just, it's also, anything and everything, seals, anything and everything related to maintenance. As Jamie said, he's paying a nickel a mile on the Max at 500,000 miles, and that's pretty low in comparison to the 10 cents a mile that I'm probably 10 to 15 cents a mile that I'm seeing other fleets. So you add 15 cents reduction comparative to other fleets in fuel economy, and then you drop another 10 cents off of that. And I would venture he's a safe operator, because if you have drivers that are operating this way from a fuel standpoint and driving with that type of fuel economy, that you're going to have a safe operating fleet as well. So, all of that kind of goes together. And I mean, it shows you that it's capable. So the one thing that I didn't get to talk to him about was new emission laws. And there's some new emission laws coming out in 2027 that I'm definitely concerned about. And, that could change the playing field for fuel economy. And the last time that we went through an emission law that overhauls stuff this much is when diesel exhaust fluid was introduced, and I think it was 2010 or 2011. I think it's 2010. And fuel economy just tanked when that happened, because all the technology had to change to accommodate what we eventually rolled out as what eventually accommodated diesel exhaust fuel, their fluid. So so the concern is if they don't push 2027, the requirements of 2027 back, that we may experience that yet again with a new tech rollout. And we'll see, in general, the industry has risen from a fuel economy standpoint since then. So we've compensated for all the loss from back then, and probably exceeded where we were from a fuel economy standpoint. But I've always theorized that if they would have just left it alone, would we be at 10 miles per gallon as an industry? Because we would have just innovated to that point, and we would have cleaner emissions because we would burn less fuel as a whole. So, but who knows? So,
yeah.
All right. Well, we're coming up to our end. I think we missed out on Jamie, so we are 1 out of 4, man. 1 out of 4 of the last 4. It is. I'm going to start dragging in a whole bunch of people on episodes here. So it's summertime. That's what it is.
Well, you know where to reach me, so we'll be good.
I was correct in my assumption. So, yes. But it is what it is. So, all right. So we'll close this one up. If there's one thing this conversation today proves, it's that the future of trucking isn't about the biggest fleet. It's about who has the sharpest strategy. And fuel efficiency isn't just a buzzword, it's the difference between thriving and barely surviving. Treating drivers like people, not numbers, isn't just a perk, it's the playbook for retention. And in technology, it's not just coming, it's here. The fleets that embrace technology are going to own the next decade. So whether you're running one truck, 100 trucks, or 10,000 trucks, remember this: vision beats volume, and discipline beats luck. So stay curious, stay informed, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Until next time, drive forward with purpose and innovation. Thanks for watching.